Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here. So grateful to spend an afternoon with you. We've got quite a few people signed up that are just kind of trickling in. So I'll give us a minute to let everyone come in. Oh, Gina, I just saw your text. Okay, cool. Good to know. That works. And then in the meantime, team, if you guys could check in with a couple people. Cara, I know you have Olivia, maybe Mo is signed up. Ashley Stout, Ashley Bathe, Bree Bree, Erica, Gina's here. I think Katie Moran we're waiting on, Kima, and then a couple of new people. So we'll just let them trickle in as we go. But thank you guys in the meantime for joining me. I'm so grateful to spend this time with you. It's possible, Car, you could post the link in the chat if you want. Um, Cool. So we're just going to dive right in. I'm going to start by screen sharing a deck with you guys. I love, love, love doing these webinars. I think they're so fun and they're such a great alternative to be able to kind of intake personal development and growth in ways that are a little less conventional. I've found that in my experience with oh, there's Olivia Carr. In my experience with learning and growth, a lot of times I find that I learn the absolute best when I get things in bite-sized pieces, not in like massive amounts of information. So sometimes an hour here, an hour there helps things land a lot deeper than, for example, something like going hard or going ham into a learning program. And I've done both. Like I've done, 300-hour trainings in a short span of time. I've done 200-hour trainings, but just 1 hour snippets really help support us. So we'll jump right in. Anyone that's still coming in, I'll have them just watch the beginning on recording. But this webinar is on building authentic confidence. So we're learning how to understand ourselves better and the blockages that keep us from being our true authentic self. Here's the description for you guys. Strengthen your inner cheerleader by examining old patterns that creep up and debilitate your confidence. Give yourself a fresh perspective on your truth, your worth, and your value, and keep that knowingness top of mind as you walk through your interactions and daily life. So that's the description of what we'll be covering today, plus a little here and there. And I always encourage you guys to pop into the chat and offer anything coming up for you as we discuss some of these sensitive topics, or if you want to share or hop in, or if you have a question, you're always welcome to use the chat as an opportunity. Is my sound? It's probably me. Old patterns always creeping up. It's probably my sound. Just
Is that better, you guys? Okay, cool. It's always the AirPods. Cool. No worries, Olivia, no problem. Just get the most out of it. You can watch the rest. Okay, so introductions. For those of you that don't know me, or those of you watching the recording that haven't been exposed to this work before with me, my name is Ashley. I run a business or a brand, a community of beautiful, incredible humans, and most of us have the same value system around growth and personal development. And so the way that we do that is through online classes, breathwork, meditation, yoga, fitness, any type of movement practice, mind, body, spirit. We also do programs, retreats. We do a lot of in-person workshops, webinars, teacher trainings, group coaching, all kinds of fun stuff like that. My background is in neuro-linguistic programming. So NLP, which is the science of how language affects our nervous system. I also am a yoga therapist. I have my master's in yoga therapy RX. And I also study a lot of somatic healing, somatic therapy. So anything mind body connection is my forte, is the things that I've deeply studied and I love so, so very much. And I'm blessed to have the opportunity to work in that field because, as we know, the way the world is going, bringing ourselves into more presence with our body and more presence with our healing is something that we just see more and more people realizing and recognizing, like, hey, I can't really do this on my own, or hey, I need resources outside of the spectrum of what I learned in school. Right, Car? I know I've got some content for you if that's something you're interested in. So let's do a quick little grounding. By the way, you guys, we've picked all these beautiful, like feminine, amazing little art pieces to go through this deck to support us. We'll just start with grounding our body. So just find yourself in a seated posture from wherever you are and close your eyes. And relax your shoulders and your neck and go ahead and take a big breath. Inhale. And exhale, imagine all the stress you're containing leaving your body. This hour together is set to be a fun learning environment. And while you might find some inner workings, unrooting, unlocking, unearthing, this is a safe space to do that. So no matter what you have going on outside of this call, just know that this time is sacred and there's a container here for you to explore yourself in a vulnerable way. So what I ask is that you make yourself really receptive right now to invite in the ultimate expanded evolution and learning, an opportunity that you have to maybe hear something new today. Again, breath in and exhale. And then when you feel a little bit more present, only then will you start to blink your eyes open again and find yourself slowly back in our space, maybe coming from a different angle, a different perspective here and now. Thank you. Makes all the difference, right? Okay, so my journey, I would say most of my upbringing, I had a false sense of confidence. I was a really happy-go-lucky kid. I was like bouncing off the walls all the time and, pretty joyful from the inside out. But when I started recognizing that, or being taught, if you will, that I needed to fit into a certain group in school to be liked, that I needed to present a certain way, that like kids would look at my shoes and say something specific, all of a sudden I created this false sense of security where a lot of my perspective or a lot of my outward appearance was what I was judged on in school. And so what that did is it made me want to prove myself on a consistent basis around being validated with external sources. And so all of us know, a lot of us women particularly know in our early years, maybe middle school, high school, that confidence is something that is weary, right? It's something that we're not necessarily taught of, like, go on with your bad self. Like you see TikToks all the time of really sweet moms or dads like having their kids do affirmations when they're like 4 and they're like, I'm beautiful, I'm lovely. And it's so cute and it like warms all of our hearts because we're like, man, if I knew how to say that to myself at that age, things would have been a lot different. I would have been much more resourced. And so for me, a lot of finding my authentic confidence, like actually truly allowing myself who I actually am, not who I think people want to see, but who I actually am, when I'm allowing that to present and be seen in a very deep, profound way. All of that started when I started doing yoga. And I can say that with absolute certainty because yoga taught me to confront myself and my own negative belief system around who I am and the shame that came with presenting who I am. And it put me right up front with this conversation of like, is this true? Is my opinion of who I am really the outcome of how I want to live my life? Do I want to constantly be chasing what's around me? Do I constantly want to feel like I need to mold or meld or change myself to fit in? And so a lot of the persona that I developed from the space before I found yoga was badass. No one's going to hurt me. I've got this wall of protection. Even women, would be like afraid of me because I would come off really intensely. And that gave me a sense of shelter from being hurt. And then when I found yoga, I realized that the only person that can hurt me is me. And that gave me a lot of authority to present as exactly who I am. And I found, a lot of my people there that finally saw me, and it was a messy unraveling of my soul and my spirit, but being loved through that, through understanding practice, and finding community, that really changed the game in my ability to connect with my confidence and saying, this is exactly who I am. This is how I want to present. And I want to present this as fast as I can so the people that are actually not my people can see it and can walk. Because the sooner you have fine-tuned your people, the sooner you can just explore that deeper foundation of support system of being yourself. It's when we have excess, maybe the wrong role that we're in at our jobs, or maybe the wrong intimate partnerships, or maybe we're running our old stories, our old trauma, and then it attracts like riffraff, right? Like extra stuff that you're like, I don't really know about this relationship. It might not really fill my tank, but I'm in it because maybe I don't want to be alone, or I'm present in this because as soon as I get the approval of this person, it'll make me feel healed. Right. And a lot of that stuff is really subconscious. It doesn't happen organically. We have to dig a little bit to allow ourselves to view ourselves from that space. But just finding your people, being exactly who you are the fastest you can. I mean, that's really what gave me the ability to, in my now adulthood, tap into a sense of confidence when I'm feeling weary or like the ground's shaking underneath me. I actually have a funny story where I felt super misunderstood. I'm actually going to go off screen and share for this. I don't think I've shared this story many times, but I was teaching for an NBA team. I was teaching for the Minnesota Timberwolves at UCLA, and I went in and I was doing a stretch for their practice. And after the practice, they're stretching, and like, obviously we're really afraid of being misunderstood by being confident. And so they're stretching and they're all like moaning and growing. They're like a bunch of really tall guys, and like their hips are sad and their bodies are sad. And, you know, I'm just like, okay, let's stretch a little deeper, you know, and you know, they're grunting. And I'm like, gosh, like the last time I saw a group of guys like this way is when I taught at the prison recently, because like I teach an all male prison, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I've never seen guys so tight besides you guys and them. And like most of them were African-American, and they took it really personally. And they were like, what do you mean? You're saying we look like prison inmates, and like flipped out. And I felt so misunderstood and so misaligned because it's so not what I meant. But when I went back and reflected on it, I realized that my authentic self could have said something so different, but that was like the first thing that came to mind. So while authentically presenting as who you are is incredibly important, there's also a level of filtering where you can be you and show up to an environment that you're received well. So there's kind of a balance in that, and you can show up and be malleable to the experience in which you're showing up to. And it doesn't mean you have to lose your authentic self in that experience. So that was just a sidebar. Hopefully that's helpful too for you guys, because I know for me, sometimes like, I'm like, I don't want to show up in this type of environment because it's not aligned with who I am. But I'm like, who I am is so expansive that I can actually meld myself without losing me. Right. And that's how I teach in different experiences in different spaces, right? Like I wouldn't go into a rehab center for substance abuse and teach the same way I would teach at Core Power Yoga, for example. Cool. So let's continue. And again, you guys, questions, chat, like please continue with whatever comes to mind, because this is I'm very open for this to be interactive. So I'd love to hear from you guys. I love this beautiful lady with her butterflies. What instances, situations, or circumstances do you find it challenging to channel your own authentic inner confidence? Like, for example, usually it's an anchor, meaning when I show up around my family, I feel like I can't be confident. Or when I show up to work, I feel super off put. Or maybe when I'm dating, I have a hard time with my self-esteem. Like, what specifically for you guys is something that channels your challenges your confidence?
I'll go ahead.
Yeah.
I think especially this is super relevant for me right now as I like have re-entered the dating world. Definitely something you had mentioned about the external appearance thing. And I've been working on myself for so long and really looking inward that I am now much more confident about who I am as a human being than I used to be. However, I'm still working on detaching from what I appear on the outside. Like as soon as I have a pimple, like my day's ruined or was ruined rather. I'll reframe. But so I'm just really working on that right now, is detaching from physical appearance and knowing that my value isn't based on if I'm having like a quote unquote off day.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And it's important too, like you're so self-aware, Car, and to know your Achilles heel and be like, this is what takes me out of my power. It gives you the wherewithal and the ability to bolster up resources to say, I know this will happen in this situation, this setting. So how can I pre-frame and prep myself and be more open to seeing the truth about me way far in advance, so I'm already equipped?
Yeah. Like I have a date scheduled for Sunday and I was telling my roommate about it, and I know, crazy. And she was like, just pretend it's Brody, which is like one of our friends. I'm like, you're so right. Like, I don't need to think about it. It's like, oh, I need to prove myself. It's literally a friend that I'm getting to know until further notice. So that's how I'm.
So true. And looking at them as a friend that you're getting to know in the dating world, by the way, is actually the most powerful tool you have, because it changes your mindset from putting that filter on of like, let me present how I think they want, or the type of person they want to date. And then let me look at them for all of their errors or faults, or maybe let me even look at them with rose-colored glasses and miss red flags. Like, we've all done that too. So the friend zone thing of like, I'm just understanding more about this human is so epic, because for example, I have like a bunch of guy friends that are single. And when I interact with them, I'm like, oh, like if I was single and I'd met you, I might be interested in dating you. But now that, because I had that block of like being in a relationship, it allows me to see you for who you really are. And now I know I probably would never have dated you if I saw this side of you previously, right? Like maybe it's not aligned, for example. So that friend zone, like little filter, really saves you a lot of effort on the back end, because there's something chemically that happens in our bodies and our minds and our hormones when we're dating of like, oh, all of a sudden there's this pre-frame of this is a potential mate or potential partner. And then like evolution kicks in. And then sometimes we don't have the ability to see red flags. Love that. Anyone else want to share any specific instances where you're like, I'm crippled, like I can't find my confidence?
I'll share.
Okay.
I feel like for me, I find it most with people that I've known the longest. So it's like, I feel like with new people, I can more authentically show up as myself now, because I'm like, you don't know me, and I can basically give you whatever version of me I want. But I feel like for the people I've known the longest, it's always kind of a comparison back to who I used to be, or like their version of me that they've kind of like carried with them. And I hate like getting comments of like, oh, like that's not the Danielle I know, or like, oh, old Danielle wouldn't have done that. I'm like, yeah, I know, that's kind of the whole point. So I feel like that's kind of what drives me crazy is I feel like sometimes I can't authentically show up as myself because people know past versions of me. So yeah.
Okay. I'm thinking also for you to journal or dig into that a little bit around like, where is it that the ceiling of evolution was taught to you that it's not okay to grow? You know, like where did you get that idea that people don't evolve or people shouldn't evolve, or things like maybe it's old programming. Like I have a lot of program in my mind around this is not how things used to be, like being attached to a certain era of our life. Like my upbringing, we would go camping and, you know, do all these like movie nights with my family. And then they're like, well, we don't do that anymore. It's like, yeah, no shit. Like we're adults, like we're not kids. We're not doing the same thing that we used to be doing. So maybe it's that attachment to the way things used to be. And sometimes a response that I use when people say like, oh, this is what you said before. Like I get a lot of that in coaching too, because my coaching evolves a lot. So the way that I coach, the way I program, the way I offer packages changes all the time. And people will be like, oh, well, before it was like this. And I'm like, yeah, if I was the same coach 6 months ago that I am today, like you're hiring the wrong person for sure. So if you're the same person that someone knew 10 years ago, like they probably need to find another friendship if they can't deal with you expanding. Totally. Cool. Yeah. Comparison. That's great. I think we actually have some stuff in here on that as well. Great. So let's talk about what is defined as confidence. This is from Google, the Google machine. The feeling or belief that one can rely on someone or something, firm trust. The state of feeling certain about the truth of something. Or a feeling of self-assurance arising from one's own appreciation or appreciation of one's own abilities or qualities. Would you guys agree with these definitions for the most part? I think there's other dimensions depending on context, right? But like, to me, I think firm trust. And when I hear trust, it's trust in self. When you're talking about inner confidence, like within yourself, it's I trust myself to be exactly who I am. Yeah, abilities and qualities too. And it's something too, it's crazy because I worked with Kayla for so long, and now she's transitioning into a different evolution of her role here in my company. But I know when I worked with her for so long, like one of the things that made me feel so at ease when she was really cranking on projects was her confidence of like, we built an entire 200-hour yoga teacher training program. And I had her working with Yoga Alliance to get our curriculum approved as a yoga school officially, like nationwide. And she had such confidence. Like she would go after answers and understand exactly what the rules were and what we needed to teach, how many hours of what. And so she had the ability to present information confidently, meaning she felt certain about something. So it made me feel at ease, like, okay, I know that she's done the research here. And so, by the way, that doesn't mean that she 100% of the time always knew with 100% certainty about something, but her ability to be confident about it, and then to also be confident about her own capability to fix something if it wasn't real or it wasn't true, that gave a really amazing dynamic relationship to be able to propel projects forward. And so part of confidence is not just knowing something, but it's knowing that, yes, I trust myself in this, but if it doesn't work out the way I thought it would, I also trust myself to be able to figure it the fuck out, right? To find an answer, to find a solution at the end of the day. Yeah, getting uncomfortable for sure. Hi, Kima. Okay, so I would love for you guys to pull out a pen and paper and just write down really quick, or if you have it on your phone or your laptop, write down 3 things that you absolutely know to be true about yourself, that you're like, I'm so good at this without question. I will fuck up some liquid eyeliner. Like, what is it that you are so good at? Put it down. Or like, I know with absolute certainty, I'm the most empathetic, compassionate friend, period. I guess puzzles and backgammon work too. Those are cute. I am so confident about my ability to do this. I am confident about my skills in cuddling Augie. I am confident that I probably shouldn't have put pink eyelashes in my eyes before my corporate offsite yesterday, and I did it, but it was fine. It worked out great. What am I confident about? I'm confident in my ability to hold space. I'm confident in my meditation teaching skills. I'm confident that my heart is massive and can outweigh any negative feeling. Ownership of being wrong, or the openness and knowingness around never arriving and always being a student. Yeah, totally. And that is a big piece of confidence, is like sometimes we'll be paralyzed by not wanting to take action or do something because we're afraid that we'll do the wrong thing. But like, it's actually really fun to do the wrong thing really fast, because then you can find how to do it better. Yeah, Danny, that's awesome. Car, great. Love 4 of them. Cooking, planning, loving. Ash, I see that deeply for you. Great answers, you guys. Providing milkshakes. It's too much. Beautiful. So I want you to just keep in mind that whatever you wrote down, it doesn't have to be like, I'm confident at giving kick-ass presentations that get me a promotion, or I'm confident at taking a first date and just being like, yo, this is who I am. Love me for who I am. Or I'm confident at saying no to my friends when I just want to be a people pleaser. Like, it doesn't have to be these astronomical things. But if you have things in your life that you know deep down inside you have the ability to do in one area, you can map it across any area. You can say, wow, I'm really confident at putting Augie's leash on. Okay, that means I can also use that same energy and map it over to something that I otherwise would not have been as confident at, right? We're learning and growing. So let's talk self-trust, since this is really the core of authentic confidence, is like, how much do I trust myself? Do I trust myself that if things don't go right, I won't fall on my face, or if I do fall on my face, I'll find learnings and growth? I trust myself that I'll always be there for myself when I'm sad, when I'm hurt, when I'm angry, when I'm unsure. Do I trust myself that I'll see my own value and my own worth if things don't go my way, right? So just leaning in here to why we don't always trust ourselves. And these reasons I found are really powerful, really important to just zoom out on, because it gives us perspective as to like how we're holding ourselves back. Often we break commitments with ourselves before we break commitments with others. That's like the number one thing, is that like someone invites you out to dinner, but you've already like planned to cook and you're like, fuck it, I just want to like go eat somewhere. Or I decided I was going to wake up early, but instead I wanted to like do something the night before to people please someone else, so it didn't give me enough sleep. Or I'm going to be, knocking out this, and this project or this task ahead of something so that I have extra time later and I don't feel stressed. And then you're like, fuck it, I want to do something else. Right. So allowing ourselves to be swayed from our own internal rituals and practices in order to be there for someone else. That is why we don't trust ourselves. How could you have faith in your ability to show up for you if you're busy wanting to show up for someone else or something else? Number two, we rarely understand our actual values. We're going to be doing a lot of work on values in the fall. Car's going to be co-leading some stuff with me. Values are one of the most important concepts that you can know for divine confidence, because in this space of knowing your values, meaning like if honesty is my number one value or integrity is my number one value, all of my choices align with that. So I don't have to worry about being confident because I have a pillar or a North Star that's guiding my actions, my behaviors, right? Like, oh, I kind of want to do this thing, but I'm just going to sweep this under the table. It's like, nope, that's not in alignment with integrity. So that's not in alignment with my values. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to show up to that. So that's another way to build self-trust, is to know your values. We're fearful of a negative outcome, right? So we're paralyzed because we don't want to get something wrong. We don't know ourselves deeply or invest the time to. So if you don't know yourself, it's hard to be confident about who you are, right? And also you don't have to fully understand everything about you, but you got to at least know, like, who am I looking at in a dark room? Do I like that person? Because if I don't like that person, it's going to be permeable when I show up in the outer space. Thanks, Danny. That's an awesome share, right? Just being empowered to like lean in. We don't know. Oh, we would rather mold to receive external validation, meaning people pleasing. That's why we don't trust ourselves, because we'll abandon ourselves to make other people happy. We forget the core truth of who we are. We're spirit, we're love. Like there's no way we could be anything else. And then lastly, we compare ourselves to those around us as a measure of success. Right? So what are they doing? Oh, if I'm not doing what they're doing, then that means I don't have the deservingness to be confident. So I talk about this a lot in our programming too, is the success versus failure circuit. And that whatever story we're rerunning in our mind over and over and over gets stronger. So these are actual pictures of brain synapses. And if you look at the way the little electric energy between the synapses is happening, that electric energy gets stronger and stronger and stronger with whatever circuit you strengthen, whatever one you run over and over. If you're like, oh, I'm going to learn how to play piano, and you do it every day over and over and over and over and over and over and over, you get better and better and better. So you're strengthening that brain circuit, that neuro pathway. So if you're strengthening the circuit of failure, meaning, or lack of confidence, right? Like, I can't show up this way, I'm not enough, blah, blah, blah. You're making that circuit stronger versus a circuit of success of, even if this doesn't work out the way I think it's going to work out, I'm still going to be okay. I'm still going to show up. I'm still going to know how to take care of myself. It's which story are you making stronger neurochemically in your brain? That's the one that you're going to continue to go down the path of least resistance. So while it might be uncomfortable at first to develop skills like confidence when you've never even known what that looks like, or maybe parts of you don't, once you practice it over and over, it gets easier. So let's talk about this funny word, certainty, that we think is like tangible for some weird reason in our humanism. We get very attached to, I need to know the way things are. I need to know why things are the way they are, et cetera, et cetera. So we have on here the non-existent desire of all. So we have this desire for things to be as they are. I want to expect how things are going to go. And if they're not going to go the way that I want them to go, I'm going to need the world to show up in a certain way in order for me to accept this. And so this false sense of solidity, right, of I need to know, I need to pulls us pretty far away from being confident, because the truth about the world is that the only thing consistent in life is change. Things are going to consistently keep moving and changing and evolving. And for us to leave our happiness or our ability to present as who we are on the teetering notion of constant change, we're going to miss out on that opportunity. So like, once this happens, then I'll be okay. I'll be more confident once I get this type of title. Once I get recognized in this way, or this accomplishment, or I write this book, all of a sudden, now I'm certain that I'll be confident. We don't have that luxury in this life. And while I find it to be super unfair, I also find it to be the thing that makes life so beautiful. Because here we are getting to show up to these crazy experiences that we're like, well, I don't know, anything could happen, anything could be. That's one of the most fun things that Jules and I talk about on the phone all the time. It's like, I don't know, it could go any way. Let's just wait and see. You know, we get front row tickets to the divine show by living this life fully. Like, damn, I get to see some really cool shit unfold. And those of you in this community, like, you're seeing that on a daily basis because everyone's so vulnerable around here on these streets. Like Mo learning how to swim and jumping in a pool, or, you know, Bree standing up to her boss in a way that she never knew how to before. Like, you get to see that on a daily basis in this space, in this community, and get supported in that way. So to know that confidence doesn't come from everything going your way is a helpful tool to develop more of it. Because once it's that, you like, oh, this is out of my control. That means I could literally show up without the necessity for something to be in my control. It's a sense of surrender, right? And that's actually the most feminine, beautiful thing that we can do, is surrender. Life's got us. Like, the universe has got us. Like, everything's happening for us. Even if we don't like it, we're like, fuck this. How is that possible? It's happening for us. Gratitude. This is a big thing for confidence as well. When we wake up and we say, I'm thankful, it wipes all of the debris off the lenses in which we're viewing the world. We're not nitpicking anymore. We're just saying, wow, I'm blessed. The fact that I even have this is a blessing, not I'm entitled to more. Because when we get in the dark space of lack of confidence, we think we're entitled to more. My life shouldn't be this way. And so gratitude also informs our ability to see ourselves clearly. Wow, Ash, I'm thankful that you're taking deep breaths. Wow, Ash, I'm really grateful that you're doing things that fill up your soul. And it reminds us of who we are. Yesterday in the offsite that I led for this corporate company, it was for NBC actually, they had an organizational lead there, and I was doing like more of the spiritual conversation, but she was doing org and leadership, and she led the entire group the first day, the first morning, everything with I am statements. Thanks, Olivia, for being here. You can watch the rest of the recording. I am statements. And she's like, every single day, here's how I start my day. I am grateful that I get to take a breath. I am blessed that people in my life are showing up to challenge me because they're making me stronger. I am so grateful that I have a healthy body that's taking a breath and getting me out of bed right now. And she was just talking about that every morning she just goes and goes and goes until she can't go anymore. And then she lets herself start on her day. But that's like her number one practice, is that like she's legitimately with herself on all the things that she's not entitled to, but blessed to have. And like, there's no way you wouldn't be confident after that, because you're like, holy shit, this life is epic. And then you walk in to go get your coffee, you're smiling and shit. And then you're saying hi to your boss and you're like all stoked, right? Like, that evolution is a natural curation of our ability to really just be present and grateful.
Can I say something on this, Ash?
Yeah, I would love that.
So in our like side chat with our little crew side chat, Kayla was saying the other day how she had knew she had like a really crazy busy day, and like did like some meal prep and like packed all of her stuff for like so she could work out the next day. And I said, I was like, that's amazing. Like, I always try to think of like, what does future me need? And I'm like thankful for like old, like past me of like things that I did for myself. And I say that, like my husband and I say that to all the time of like, oh, thanks past Danielle, or like, you're welcome future Danielle. And I was like, I think like just being thankful for like to ourselves of like the little things that we do for ourselves of like to either make our lives easier or like set ourselves up for success. Like, it makes such a difference of like, yes, like, thank you for past me for like doing that, because like that saves me like some time today or whatever. And I was like, just like treating my future self like a friend of like, would I do this for a friend of like to make their lives easier? Like, of course, like 100%. So like, I'm going to do it for me too. So I like, it made me think of that with the gratitude of just like thanking myself for like little like silly things that like I'd probably be doing anyway, but it just kind of solidifies like, yes, I did this for me. And like, I'm acknowledging that. So I thought that was, just wanted to add that.
That is so awesome. I love that above and beyond. I'm going to remember that forever. Like, thanks, future me. Here you go. Past me. Like, that's so great. I love that so much. And it's even in the little things, right? Like you were saying, Kayla saying she was meal prepping, or You know, anything we do in advance for ourselves, like even for me, when I program my classes the night before versus the morning of, I always feel better when I wake up. There's so many things that we can do to set ourselves up to feel equipped. And then we walk in with preparation. We're like, I'm so confident because everything's done and done, right? It's already been done. Totally. Thank you for that. Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about your uniqueness. And this is, I think, a really big concept that's so easily overlooked is like, you know, we always hear it. You're so unique. There's no one like you. Like it can get really cheeseball after a while, but like, let's break down what it means because it's really true. First of all, those of you that have siblings, you look at your sibling that is 100% the same DNA as you most of the time, right? Same mother, same father siblings. They couldn't be more different to you, right? But somehow they're still the same DNA. And so here we are comparing ourselves with other people that aren't even our DNA. They haven't lived through the experiences we have, gone through the breakups or the friendships or the getting bullied in school or the being the asshole or the getting scolded in your upbringing or being taught how to love. Like no one, not one person on the planet, even people that have 100% your DNA, could ever be the same person as you. Like there has never been and there will never again be someone like you. You're the most unique thing that ever has walked this earth. And to remember that, it's like, holy shit, like what I'm here to do is bigger than this average bullshit that I think. Right? Like my purpose, my calling of having life force on this planet right now is way greater than just the bare minimum. Like I'm not just another human, I'm like the human. And so all of a sudden, when we recognize that concept combined with the fact that what's beating your heart is the exact same thing that's beating my heart, you have this overwhelming sense of connection to higher source. So you're like, wow, I'm a drop of water in an ocean of consciousness, in a body of experiences that no one else is. You're unified and separate and unique all at the same time. And it's all happening right now. So you might not get it right every moment. You might not always say the right thing. You might not always know what to do. You might feel burned out and worthless sometimes. But at the end of the day, no one can respond, show up, offer support, be who you are ever. It's just not even possible. And the world actually needs that. Like the world needs you to be the expanded version of you. Because if you look at all the tragedy in the world, a lot of the manifestations of that tragedy that's human related, right? Humanism, we're not perfect, is because that human was like not seen or understood. When you see people in politics throwing temper tantrums and making really heavy decisions for the entire country, when you see acts of war, when you see people getting canceled, when you see people doing acts that get them canceled, like all of this these are all humans that don't know how to recognize themselves. So they're acting out of hurt. And so think about even for you, regardless if it's that extreme or not, when you are not authentically confident in who you are, the repercussions are you, like the not so fun version of you, the ugly version of you that like snaps and is like an asshole and maybe makes mistakes and maybe feels shame or feels hurt or feels unworthy, right? Like those versions will manifest when you don't see yourself. When you're not like, damn, you're fucking badass. Let's go, right? High five yourself in the mirror, right, Car? And just boom, let's do this. And that's where the authentic confidence piece, as soon as you recognize that, it comes naturally. You're like, no shit, I'm badass. No shit, I'm lucky and blessed. No shit, there's like things that get to happen in my lifetime that no one else gets to experience. And ideally, the comparison just kind of melts away. Right? And again, guys, you can always stop me and jump in if you have things. Everything. This is a quote that my mom says that triggers me most of the time, but she's fucking right a lot of times. How we do one thing is how we do many things. And I hate this one because I'm like, well, that's not true. And then when I look at like how passionate I am about my life, I'm literally passionate in every area. I'm like, there's not many areas that I'm not passionate about, except for, you know, I'll leave that one. If you have the ability to apply confidence in one area, it means that your brain actually has the capacity to map it over to other areas. So if I'm like, I know how to freaking tie my shoes, I'm going to take the energy of I know how to tie my shoes and place it over here to I know how to lead a meditation, or I know how to speak and lead this meeting, or, you know, I want to present a better version of myself. So I know how to do that. And I'm going to lean into that ability. Yes, of course you can give this back 100%. And so I want you guys to just remember that, like, you all wrote down 3 things that, you know, you're good at. You could be good at like pooping, and that counts. You could be good at anything. It counts. As soon as you recognize yourself, you can do it anywhere. And the deeper version of this is a little more high level. And I think Jules suggested this, but it's like archetypal energy, where you're like, I'm going to step into this sexy vixen right now and like slay my man. And then you're like, I'm going to go step into work and be like Beyonce CEO. And then I'm going to be, you know, and you can just alter the hat that you're wearing in that moment to boost your confidence. You're like, I could do that here. I can embody this here. And there's a lot of opportunity in that to boost. I think this is an important thing to mention when we're talking about confidence is the negative self-talk that really can get in the way of like, yeah, right, you would suck at that, or you're not enough, or good luck doing that, you sucked at it last time, right? So there's all this negative self-talk that creeps in, and it's again like a film or a smoke screen that goes over the truth. And so on here I have catch yourself doing something right with a gold freaking star. And you guys spoke about this a little in the chat where you were like, high five myself, or be like, good job, future Danielle, or thank you, past Danielle. These are all ways of hyping yourself up. Like, wow, I'm proud of myself. I got up on time. I did what I said I was going to do. High five, like whatever it is. Oh, I love that, Danielle. Went bathing suit shopping and said the negative self-talk doesn't come in the dressing room with me. Huge, huge. Like, nothing but me looking at myself with heart eyes. And if the suit doesn't fit right, I don't take it personally. It's just the suit style. It's not my body. That's for damn sure. Because there's something that will make my body look banging no matter what size, shape, time frame, age. Let's go. I love it. Danielle with all the fire today. A lot of you guys are familiar with The Work by Byron Katie. It's a series of 4 questions that will help us shape the framework of any negative self-talk that's maybe keeping us away from our confidence. So the first question you would ask yourself about something that's hurting you or creating harm is this true? Usually the answer right off the bat would be no, but sometimes when you're in your bullshit, it might be like, yes, or I feel like it is. And that's why you follow it up with a second question of, can I absolutely know with 100% certainty that it's true? And then usually that's where you start to rock that framework of like, although I want to believe it's true, I don't really know with certainty that it's true, right? And then how do I feel when I believe this thought? Especially if it's negative. Maybe you feel worthless. Maybe you feel lack of confidence. Maybe you feel insecure. Maybe you feel self-doubt or fear. How do I feel? Like being honest with yourself when I believe this. And then the last one is, who would I be or what would I do without it? If I didn't have this negative thought, what is the endless, boundless possibility of the person I can step into? That's right, Car. And then I've got some follow-up bonus questions. These are not part of the work, but these are also an iteration of these style of questions I've heard before. What's the opposite of it? So like if the thought is, I'll never be good at this, the opposite is, I could totally be good at this. And then do I have any evidence to believe that as a possibility? So you start to do a transderivational search in your brain. That's an NLP concept, is that you start to look through all your memory bank of, do I have any evidence that I could be good at this? Right? Maybe. I took Jules ATVing in Mexico and she fucking hated it. She was pissed. She was holding on for dear life, like screaming at me the whole time. If the thought is, I will never ATV again, I could say, what's the opposite? I will ATV again. Does she have any evidence that that could be a possibility? She survived, right? So that could be evidence, even in a situation that you don't want to find evidence, right? So how do you dig deeper into yourself to say, how can I flip this on its head? Because I'm deserving of that. I'm deserving of getting out of my own shit. She processed the whole situation. Oh, this quote, you guys, is so triggering, but so great. There are people less qualified than you doing the things that you want to do simply because they believe in themselves. That's it. That's all it takes. A little bit of confidence here, a little bit of support there, self-love there. Boom. Yeah, what's the worst that could happen? And would that be so bad? I love that. Because it's like, comparison is a bitch, but when you use it to your advantage, like if they can not, they're doing it, so that means I can't, versus if they can do it, I can do it. That's the reframe of I can show up here. I do have this deck for you guys. I think it's the art. The art makes it really pretty. Okay, so here's some practices to build confidence in yourself. First of all, non-negotiable rituals and actually show up to them. Meaning, I am going to take deep breaths while I'm doing my skincare routine, or when I'm brushing my teeth, I'm actually going to be present. Or maybe I'm going to use essential oils every morning before I grab my phone. Or maybe I'm going to start a 5-minute meditation practice every day. And no matter what, I'm going to show up to that because I have the confidence to trust myself to make that above and beyond everything else. Not because my skincare routine is above and beyond everything else, right? But because I'm choosing myself. So it's the confidence and the action underneath it that allows us to have the experience of I'm showing up to this. It's not about the thing. It's about the commitment to the thing. That's where the confidence comes in. And then power pose. I'm sure you guys know what this is. It's like straight up. I have to show you because I have to stand up and do this right now. Power pose is like you plant your feet and you just freaking like Superwoman. And you just allow yourself to feel the energy of the ground underneath you and yourself standing up straight. Because a lot of times when we have these feelings, these negative emotions, our bodies are slouching forward. We're moving our energy inward. We're finding a separation from self. So power pose the shit out of that and give yourself a chance to really find your strength. Grounding, right? Just putting your feet in the ground and not just on your hardwood floor, but maybe outside in the grass, sand, concrete. That can really help ground you and get you back to yourself. Go contrary. This is my favorite. Do the opposite of all the bullshit you would do. Be like, I don't want to do that. I'm going to do that, right? I'm going to do that instead. Go polar opposite. And then remember your evidence. What evidence do you have of your magnificence? Be reckless in how you show up. Meaning come hell or high water, I'm fucking showing up. And think about the confidence that comes through that. There's no excuses. There's no decision making. It's, I've committed to this. I'm reckless with it because I'm going to be there no matter what. And then the last one is what would blank do? That's back to our archetypes. What would Beyonce do? What would Ashley do? What would little Katie do? What would this person do that can give me a boost or an embodiment of something that might not be tangible in this moment? Yeah. Here's another one, practices to build confidence. Determine one area you want to build confidence in. So dating, public speaking, presenting, whatever it is, and then establish clear steps. So like build yourself a manual of how to get there. If it's public speaking, take a class on public speaking, watch YouTube videos, practice speaking up around your friends, challenge yourself to lead smaller meetings, right? So give yourself the small build to actually develop the skills that you're trying to create. You can teach yourself how to do these things. And then your takeaway that I really want you guys to implement after this, if anything, is just what is one thing every day you can just show up to? Just one thing. And it doesn't have to be the same thing every single day, but you want to make it sacred. What's my practice today? I'm going to go on a walk. What's my practice today? I'm going to breathe deeply. What's my practice today? I'm just going to spend a moment of time where I'm connecting with myself and my truth. That's how you build authentic confidence. If you take anything from this, it's connect with yourself every day. Because the more you know yourself, the easier it is to present that to the outer world. And it feels good when you're in flow and in alignment with who you are. We can all feel it. We're like, fuck yeah, that was like totally me. Yep. Meditation. Same. Big for me. So just looking ahead, you guys, we have our next group coaching program starting September. I think it's September 7th. We might bump the dates earlier because everyone's aching to get back into our program since next week is our last of this round, but our next round starts in September, and we do group coaching similar to this with a PowerPoint deck. We also have a lot of interactive sharing, check-ins, and live coaching. So if you guys want to join, you can find that on the website. And other than that, I'd love to open it up for any shares, anything you guys noticed, anything you're feeling, anything you need support with, anything that came up. Totally here for it all. I know it's a lot of information.
There's one just like super small. I just feel like all of these things together like really hit, but I never really linked a lot of it to confidence. And I feel like just like having that reframe, like really, I'm like, yeah, that actually does like building confidence. I'm thank you for that. Cause I feel like we've talked about these things kind of individually, but never really kind of made that connection back to that's really driving like my personal confidence. So yeah, that connection is helpful.
Totally. Thanks for saying that. I think I felt the same way too, just even putting the deck together. I was like, what is confidence even? Like, where does it come from? How do we source it? And it's usually bigger, more rooted stuff that gives us permission to lean in. Anything else, guys? Cool. Well, I'm going to let you guys go a little bit early on this. Thank you for joining. I love doing these webinars. They're a fun way to just pause on your day and get a little mental stimulation in a different area. If you have any questions or feedback, or you want to talk about something offline, I'm always here for you. And if you need any support, just let us know. Otherwise, I hope I get to see you guys in class soon, whether it's cycle in person or online. Got a lot of fun stuff coming up, and I'll see you guys soon. Love you.